Let's talk about these overhead lift systems. Okay, it's not only for, let's hold on. It's not only for the older community as well. It's for families that have disabled children, right? How many times we had a caller after Frank announced the grant from the state a couple of 3 years ago. Lady called in and said, hey, my son is disabled, right? When he was younger, 4, 5, 6, 7, I can handle him. Son's going through puberty now.
Right.
He's getting a lot heavier. He's growing, right? I can't pick him up anymore. Yep. Can I apply for this grant for my disabled son? And sure enough, so when you're talking about overhead lifts and to transfer, it's not just for the elderly. So let's just open it up starting there.
Yeah, and it's not just for a caregiver and patient situation. There are ceiling-mounted lifts or overhead lift systems that can work for people independently. I have a lot of veterans that maybe are amputees or paraplegics that use this equipment by themselves, so they don't have to have a caregiver. They can get in and out of bed. They can transfer from the chair to the toilet, things like that. But the reason I wanted to talk about ceiling-mounted lifts today was because I think when it comes to the accessibility industry, people focus more on stair lifts or elevators, right? But this is a really important piece of equipment because transfers happen every day and they happen very frequently. You have to get out of your bed and get into the wheelchair. You have to use the toilet. You have to use the shower. So you have many transfers that happen a day, and that could potentially be a caregiver that's lifting you all of those times. Well, what happens if the caregiver hurts their back? And that's your only caregiver. What happens then? Then now you can't transfer anymore until they're better. So the whole point is just to show everybody that there are more solutions that exist than stair lifts and elevators in this industry, right? And ceiling mounted or overhead lift systems are one of those options that really make a big difference.
These aren't, I shouldn't say, I would assume that these need to be professionally installed. You're not going to sink in like wall, things you put your pictures on, those anchors. You're not going to sink. You're not going to sink.
It can become. There are solutions like gantry systems that are freestanding, so we don't have to connect it to anything. It's just 2 feet and a rail, and you can move that with you. So if you moved bedrooms or if you moved homes, you can take the whole system with you. So those are fairly easy to install, but also you can take it to a more complicated level where you actually have a track system that goes from your bedroom and it's connected to the ceiling.
Oh, wow.
And it goes from the bedroom and the track runs all the way into the shower and over the toilet. And, it can become complicated. But if you have a licensed professional like Access Elevator installing it, it's not complicated.
How often do you need to get those systems? So if you go into the ceiling above your bedroom, I don't even think about doing a track all the way to the bedroom. That's genius. If you've got enough clearance to get through the door and get to the shop, that's fantastic.
It's awesome. Yeah, they're wonderful.
Because I'm just picturing my mom, right? May she rest in peace and remember to be an eternal blessing. She had MS and she was in a wheelchair and it was dead weight, right? And when she fell, David and my father and my brother had to pick her up and she had no use for her legs. Forget about it. Okay. Yeah. So when you're getting somebody like that out of bed or somebody that has to transfer from a bed into a wheelchair, it's very dangerous, not only for the person that's being transferred, but the person doing the transferring. You're in a weird position. You're bent over, which is not the way you're supposed to lift anything.
Sometimes you're dealing with dead weight, right?
Literally.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So it makes a significant difference in the safety of the user and the patient, for sure.
What do these lifts cost? I assume depending upon where they're located and how far they're going to transfer the patient, how much, what are you looking at starting point?
We have simple gantry systems that can go over a bed in a bedroom that are freestanding that start at around $7,000. So $699.95.
Okay. And what's the most expensive that you've been involved with? Extensive.
Up over 20.
20 grand?
I've gone, we can get into the 30s depending on how far you want to take the track. And, if you're running the track from room to room, we have to open up headers on doorways and things like that. So the more complicated it gets, obviously, the more money it's going to cost.